Welcome back to the Fade Podcast with Glenn and Big Jack. Today we are going to do a NFC East divisional preview. Big Jack, going into this season, seems like a two-horse race, especially after Micah Parsons has been traded between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. Commanders coming off a great season where they make the NFC title game, ultimately losing to their division opponents in the Philadelphia Eagles, who go on to win the Super Bowl. I'm assuming you have similar thoughts going into this season about a two-horse race, or is it really just a one-horse race in your mind?
Well, really, I'm just trying to figure out where you got that shirt. That's first and foremost.
You like that?
Yeah, that's nice, man. I got the up the technology. I guess I got to up the wardrobe next, baby. But no, I guess I'm maybe just bullish on the defending champs. I think there's that stat out there. It's been, 15, 16 years or something since the NFC East division has repeated champions. I think they run away with it. Wouldn't be surprised if they post the best record in the NFC. That team is so good, so efficient, both sides of the line. I don't see a world in where there's not a little bit of regression from the Washington Commanders. Maybe that's the Bears fan in me just kind of wishing Jaden Daniels a little bit of ill will, fair or foul, but I don't think they're going to be that great, man. I think they're one of those teams who were the beneficiary of a relatively weak schedule. Obviously not a lot of film on a guy like Jaden Daniels who can do some really difficult things with his legs. And that, getting a year of tape on him, we saw kind of the Cliff Kingsbury magic with Kyler Murray and what everyone thought that was going to turn out to be, and kind of how that always sort of faded. I think it's a similar story in Washington. I'm not sold on that team by any stretch of the imagination. So no, I really think it's the Eagles, and that's it. I don't see anyone close. Even before the Micah Parsons trade, I don't know. The Cowboys they're so up and down, it's tough to rely on them, and I have no idea what Brian Schottenheimer is going to look like as a head coach. I don't know what Dak's going to look like coming off the injury. I do sort of like the George Pickens addition. Like, you'd be hard-pressed to convince me there's a better 1-2 than CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens potentially. But, that's tough to say. There's a lot of really good receiver combos out there, I suppose, but that could be a lethal one, especially with a healthy Dak. After that trade, Micah Parsons getting out of town, I don't really know what they're thinking. Call me crazy. I could see that maybe being okay for Dallas long term. But in the next year or two, I'm not sure what that's going to look like or how that's going to be received. I don't know what sort of message that sends to the locker room when you trade arguably the best non-quarterback, biggest impact non-quarterback in the NFL. You send him away. What are you telling your team? I don't really know. So I think it's them. The one thing that does interest me maybe the most here is the Giants. Similar to what I said about Nick Sirianni, I'm not totally out on Brian Daboll as a coach. I think he's a good coach. He did a lot of really good things early on with Daniel Jones, funny enough, playing for Sirianni now. But I think he knows he's coaching for his job a little bit. I think they'll go to Jackson Dart relatively soon. And I just think that defense is going to be good. I think they draft Abdul Carter high. That's who I like defensive rookie of the year. I know he's the favorite at plus 250, but I would take it and run with it. I think he's going to win it. I don't know. My favorite play in this division is honestly Giants over their win total.
Yeah, I like a lot of your thoughts. I think I would agree and echo that Giants over 5.5 seems like a great bet. Abel coaching for his life. They got to win. Too much losing's been happening in the Big Apple there. I would disagree with you on Washington, and I do think it is the Bears fan in you. I think they're over 9.5 is actually a pretty good bet. They didn't lose their coordinators, I don't think. And for what it's worth, Dan Quinn, he's like not a big name, but I think the guy could kind of coach ball as weird as he is. I think he could coach some good football. So if Jaden Daniels stays healthy, I think Washington is going to be right there again in the playoff hunt. I don't see them taking too big of a step back. Maybe a small one, like you said, with second year with Kingsbury to teams adjust. Sure, I could see some of that happening, but I don't think it's going to be some big fall off. I think they're a team riding with a lot of confidence, and I think rightfully so. I think they got a lot to be excited about in DC. But I do think Philly is ultimately the class of the NFC period, let alone the NFC East. I would like them to win the division. I'm probably steering clear of any of the division winner bets on this division, but I do like the Giants over 5.5 a lot, and I think I like the Commanders over 9.5 quite a bit as well. I think Dallas has a chance at being the worst team in this division, not because their offense is going to be bad, but I think their defense is going to be just pillow fighting with opposing offenses all year long. It's going to be that classic bend, don't break that we've seen in Chicago with Matt Eberflus only rushing with their front four. They're not going to get home against anybody. I could see a situation where their defense just, they give up 6 touchdowns in games and stuff like that. Like just long, bleeding, terrible drives, and your offense just has no chance. So I see Dallas probably being the worst team in this division, Giants third worst. I see Washington and Philly back in the playoffs, both with a chance to make a push. I see Philly as the real deal, and I see Washington as a legitimate playoff team. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl contender, though, to be honest. That's my thoughts.
The Giants, okay. No, yeah, that's all good, man. I said, you make a fair point. I admitted as much. It's probably a little bit of me hoping Jaden Daniels doesn't end up being the truth. But tough to argue with what the Commanders did last year, and they did make some improvements. They get the Terry contract done. They bring in Debo. We'll see what that looks like. So I'm not there with you on the over. I still gonna stay dug into my position on them.
Sure.
But yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
Right on. All right. Well, that wraps up our NFC East preview. If you didn't check our NFC South one, go back into our other videos and check it out. We'll be back with the other 2 divisions here in the NFC. And if you're new here, like and subscribe. Enjoy some football betting content, and we'll be back soon. Peace.